Okay, let's continue our reading. This will be the second last sutta of this chapter. Number 5, the wheel-turning monarch. 3, and after many hundreds and thousands of years, King Dalhanemi said to a certain man, "My good man, whenever you see that the sacred wheel treasure has slipped from its position, report it to me." "Yes, sire," the man replied. And after many hundreds and thousands of years, the man saw that the sacred wheel treasure had slipped from its position. Seeing this, he reported the fact to the king. Then King Dalhanemi sent for his elder son, the crown prince, and said, "My son, the sacred wheel treasure has slipped from its position, and I have heard say that when this happens to a wheel-turning monarch, he has not much longer to live. I have had my fill of human pleasures. Now is the time to seek heavenly pleasures. You, my son, take over control of this land. I will shave off my hair and beard, put on ochre robes, and go forth from the household life into homelessness." And having installed his eldest son in due form as king, King Dalhanemi shaved off his hair and beard, put on ochre robe, and went forth from the household life into homelessness. And 7 days after the royal sage had gone forth, the sacred wheel treasure vanished. And so there's a changeover, transition from the father to the son. So the father wants to go forth and pass the crown to the son. Number 4, Sister Aikim, would you like to read?
4. Then a certain man came to the consecrated Khattiya king and said, "Sir, you should know that the sacred wheel treasure has disappeared." At this, the king was grieved and felt sad. He went to the royal sage and told him the news. And the royal sage said to him, "My son, you should not grieve or feel sad at the disappearance of the wheel treasure. The wheel treasure is not an heirloom from your fathers. But now, my son, you must turn yourself into a noble wheel turner. And then it may come, but that if you perform the duties of a noble wheel turner monarch on the Uposatha day of the 15th, when you have washed your head and gone up to the veranda on top of your palace for the Uposatha day, the sacred wheel treasure will appear to you. 1,000 spoke, complete with rim, harp, and all accessories."
Thanks, Sister Aikim. Let's take a look for notes number 10. The Uposatha is the day of religious observance in the Indian lunar calendar. It falls on the days of the full moon, the 15th of the fortnight, the new moon, the 14th or 15th of the fortnight, and the 2 half moons. The Uposatha day of the 15th referred to here is probably the full moon Uposatha. I feel like this is similar to how some people that I know, they observe, they eat vegetarian on the 15th day of the lunar calendar, yeah, something like that. I guess there's some parallel to this Uposatha day. Yeah, but probably that one is more Chinese calendar related. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So the first paragraph, number 3, it talks about this sacred real treasure. So I would suppose this is an actual physical wheel. Yeah. After many hundreds, thousands of years, hundreds and thousands of years, this physical treasure is perhaps something symbolic for this king and for the sun as well. And of course, with all things physical, it's bound to, bound for impermanence, which means this sacred wheel treasure will be gone some days. So the context set in the first paragraph is that this sacred wheel treasure will slip from its position after many years, and then it will vanish, as indicated in this last sentence. Okay, and then the next paragraph, let's take a look at this word, consecrated. Make or declare something typically a church sacred, dedically formally to a religious or divine purpose. Okay, so the consecrated Katiya king. So this one, some man told the king. The king now is the son. Not the King Dalhanami. King Dalhanami is the father, which has gone forth. So now some man tells the son. Now the crown king. Now this sacred wheel treasure has disappeared. So hearing this, the son, grieved and felt sad. And then he went to the royal sage. Who is the royal sage? It's King Dalhanami who has gone forth. Then the father told him wisely, you should not grieve or feel sad at the disappearance of the wheel treasure. The wheel treasure is not an heirloom from your fathers. Let's take a look at this word. Dictionary. Heirloom, a valuable object that has belonged to a family for several generations. So the wheel treasure, the father said, is not an inheritance, heirloom from your fathers. But now, son, you may turn yourself into a noble wheel turner and perform the duties of a noble wheel turning monarch. What exactly is the duty of a noble wheel turning monarch? We will read in the next paragraph. Sister Chai Kwan, would you like to read?
Number 5. But what, sir, is the duty of a noble, wheel-turning monarch? It is this, my son, yourself depending on the Dharma, honoring it, revering it, cherishing it, doing homage to it, and venerating it, having the Dharma as your badge and banner, acknowledging the Dharma as your master. You should establish righteous guard, ward, and protection for your own household, your troops, your Khatiyas and Vasas, for Brahmins and householder, town and country folk, ascetics and Brahmins, for beasts and birds. Let no crime prevail in your kingdom, and to those who are in need give well. And whatever ascetics and Brahmins in your kingdom have renounced the life of sensual infatuation and are devoted to forbearance and gentleness, each one taming himself, each one calming himself, and each one striving for the end of craving. From time to time, you should approach them and ask, what, venerable sirs, is wholesome and what is unwholesome? What is blameworthy and what is blameless? What is to be followed and what is not to be followed? what action would in the long run lead to harm and sorrow, and what to welfare and happiness. Having listened to them, you should avoid what is unwholesome and do what is wholesome. That, sir, that, my son, is the duty of a noble will-turning monarch. Yes, sir, said the king, and he performed the duties of a noble will-turning monarch. And as he did so, on the Uposatha day of the 15th, when he had washed his head and gone up to the veranda on top of his palace for the Uposatha day, the sacred will treasure appeared to him. Thousand spoke, complete with rim, harp, and all accessories. Then the king thought, I have heard that when a duly anointed Katiya king sees such a wheel on the Upasata day of the 15th, he will become a wheel-turning monarch. May I become such a monarch.
Okay, thanks, Sister Shekwan. Okay, so let's take a look at footnotes number 11. I correct an error in Wolsey's translation here. Wolsey translates as if the virtuous ascetics and Brahmins should come to the king to ask for his guidance in what is wholesome and unwholesome. The Pali text, however, is clear that it is the king who should approach the virtuous ascetics and Brahmins to ask for their guidance. Yeah? So the king asks the ascetics and Brahmins, not the ascetics and Brahmins ask the king. So Wolsey is one of the official translators of the Digha Nikaya, yeah, one of the 4 main Pali canons. So here, the king turns to the Dhamma, yeah, advise the son to use the Dhamma as the guide, yeah, as a noble will-turning monarch. Yeah. These lines. And then whatever duty he has as a king, use the Dhamma as the guide. Okay, number 6. Sister Billy, would you like to read?
Then, arising from his seat, covering one shoulder with his robe, the king took a gold vessel in his left hand, sprinkled the wheel with his right hand, and said, May the noble wheel treasure turn, may the noble wheel treasure conquer. The wheel turned to the east, and the king followed it with his 4-fold army. And in whatever country the wheel stopped, the king took up residence with his 4-fold army. And those who opposed him in the eastern region came and said, Come, your majesty, welcome, we are yours, your majesty, rule us, your majesty. And the king said, Do not take life, do not take what is not given, do not commit sexual misconduct, do not tell lies, do not drink intoxicated drinks, enjoy your possessions as before. And those who had opposed him in the eastern region became his subjects.
Okay, thanks, Sister Billy. Let's take a look at footnotes number 12. Yata Bhutan Cha Bunjata, the Pali means literally, eat the food as it has been eaten. But this seems to be the implication. Wolsey's be moderate in eating cannot be correct. Yeah, so this is more technical footnote by Bhikkhu Bodhi. Translations of the Pali. The literal meaning is this: eat the food as it has been eaten. But Bhikkhu Bodhi implies the meaning as enjoy your possessions as before. So this paragraph mentioned that wherever the king goes, in whatever country, the wheel stop, the king took up residence with his fourfold army, and those who used to oppose him come to him and said, "Oh, come, Majesty, come, rule us." And the king, advised by the father to use the Dharma to rule the country, the king told them about the 5 precepts. Do not take life, do not take what is not given, do not commit sexual misconduct, do not tell lies, do not drink intoxicating drinks. And number 7, then the wheel turned south, west, and north as section 6. Then the wheel treasure, having conquered the lands from sea to sea, returned to the royal capital and stopped before the king's palace as he was trying a case, as if to adorn the royal palace. From Digha Nikaya 26, Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, tomorrow we shall read the last sutta of this chapter, bringing tranquility to the land. So any questions or comments for the one we just read?
Sounds a bit magical. The which is the thing that came and vanished. The wheel treasure sounds very magical. Yeah. You actually, it's like a symbol that if the king rule well, practice well, then it comes. And then when his time is, or when it's time for the king to go into, maybe like Shafi said, and go into homelessness, then it disappears. So this part is a bit difficult for me to assess. It's like a story.
Yeah. Yeah, well, occasionally in the sutta you will find some stuff like this. Yeah. So,
Actually, it just says that if you are just and a kind king, you are compassionate and show concern for your people, I think even enemy would succumb to you, because the people would think, yeah, this is a better king if I would surrender without having to fight and all the killings and things. I think it's kind of a symbol of saying that. So when you find a person who is very pleasant, very kind, you tend to become attached to the person. So that's why it says all the other country, they will submit to him willingly, because they know that he is kind and he will be impartial to all. Yeah, I think that's my understanding.
yeah, I think that part is quite okay to understand. What Sister really mentioned is the actual, sacred wheel that vanish and reappear again. Well, is it actually true or not? I'm not sure, but I think what's more important here is the principle of the Dharma on how to rule as a country. Yeah. So that's a good objection raised by Sister V, which sometimes I also feel that way when I read the sutta. This is not the only one. If we go back to 2nd chapter, when the Buddha came to this earth and then walked 7 steps and declared, that one is also a little bit magical, right? Yeah. So, but is that the important part for me to know whether it's true or not? For me, not really. Yeah. For me, I'll just put it aside first. Is it true or not? Okay, not sure. Yeah. But I will just extract whatever I can as important and whatever I can apply in my life. Yeah, I mean, this is not the only one. You will encounter many, many occasions like this. But thanks for raising it up.
But it's true because I think I mean I don't really mind. It's just observation.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it, in a way, it adds colors. It's like when you, if we always think read and think be very factual, then you know it's also not so interesting. Yeah, so I really don't mind. It's just that whenever I come across this, I'm like, oh, really it can happen. Who knows, right? I mean, it may happen. It's just that we don't know. We haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it matters to some people who are very skeptical and who thought that Buddhism is a very realistic religion. And when they start to read the sutta and they found this kind of magical things that seems, like you mentioned, the word seems magical, mythical, and they will start to turn away. Oh, I thought Buddhism is a realistic religion. But when I read this sutta, there's all these kinds of seemingly impossible things to happen. Yeah, so, but if that people ask me, I will tell them the same thing. Well, I'm not sure if that part is true, but what important to me is the lessons that we can learn. Yeah. I think it's a genuine, a pretty good observation. Thanks, Sister Billy. How about others? Any comments? Okay, if not, I think we can end here. Would Sister Akim like to do the closing dedication?
回向，愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，不愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。
Thanks, Sister Akim. Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a wheel-turning Wednesday ahead. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.